Everybody got that?
Cool. Thank you.
Does somebody need to put you in the booth? Let's
Yeah,
see.
but
Okay.
yeah,
There is.
thank you.
I'm sure Marina is on it. Yeah, she's super efficient
You
that
can
way.
tell
Thank you.
by
Thanks
the
for
thumbs are dead giveaway.
Thank you for translating Hasso, and thanks for everything else you do to help us out. And thank you, Marina, for putting Hasso in the corner. And usually nobody puts Hasso in the corner.
Nobody puts us in the corner.
Um, well,
Nick, it
good.
sounds like you're feeling much better.
Well, yeah, 6 weeks of unknown virus seems to be subsiding at least.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's kind of I'm fine. I'm at my parents' house right now. I'm on the East Coast. It's
Oh,
also not 8 a.m. for me, which is kind of nice. Nor 4 p.m. I don't know what time it's been. I don't know when I am. Anyway, this is the last show of 2023. 2023 has been a very exciting year for the Diamond Cutter Classics because we launched this new model of Xuanzang's tower, where instead of doing these, intermittent translation terms, we're doing ongoing weekly classes with all of you and all of us. And it's been exciting and it's been fun. And we've also launched our new Good Night Club model. And if you haven't learned about that yet, please get informed. We will keep you informed. We'll give you lots of QR codes to scan so that you can subscribe to some version of our subscription model where you can get books, get excerpts from books, get signed photos of Geshe Michael, or for just $1 a month, you can get unsigned photos of Geshe Michael. I'm not sure if that's true. And here comes homework. Adam Andrade is queuing up his work. And do you have a homework?
No, yeah, I chose not to do one. We only got through like one section last time,
Right.
and
Fair
I felt
enough.
like I felt like it would be a little bit better if I just spent my time kind of translating and trying to understand the material that we're going to go through today. So that's kind of where, yeah, that's kind of where we stand.
Well, thank you, Adam. Adam's being a really good sport. He got a team class last. Team class in mixed nuts language means Geshe Michael's not here, and we, the mixed nuts team, you could say, are going to translate together. And Adam had one last time, and he's got one again. Geshe Michael had a hand surgery. I think everything has gone well, but he's recovering. So here we go. Thank you, Adam, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Can you guys see? Should I make it a little bigger here?
A little bigger would be helpful for those of us who are aged.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we left off last class here at 412. And just trying to reposition. There we go. Is there any way I get here? There we go. Yeah, I like seeing you guys. So I'm trying to get the all the participants, all the cameras here across the bottom of the screen, so I can still see you guys. Yeah, so we left off at 412 last class, and Geshe had made a note that we should go back to 407. So just quickly, what we're looking at, what we're going to start with today is whether or not if something is a working thing, doesn't necessarily have to be an actual object, a Rangsen. So that's kind of the we won't spend too much time on it. We're just going to take that and roll with it.
We've analyzed it quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. But I just, for context, if you know some of you guys weren't here last time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do we have anybody that's willing to participate by volunteering to read?
Oh,
Should I just select somebody for the firing squad?
I think that's a good idea. You can always ask Word to pick people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Word, would you help us? I'm not sure who all's in your class.
Sure.
Put
I
one of your
pick-
students before the firing squad.
I
Adam,
would
could you
love to.
first blow up your Word doc so it's much bigger?
Yeah. Do that.
Pei Ling wants to pronounce.
Nice.
Okay.
What do you think? Yeah.
Oh,
Is that-
that's good.
That's pretty good, Adam.
I like it.
Okay. Yeah.
當夜怒被你冷聲音被馬夾那giờ
Shell.
quá
Shell John?
sâu quá lắng lắng
Yeah. Chi.
lắng chỉ
Yeah.
ý su cái bề tịch su đôn ye nu tăng min nu ý chế có ba lê mẹ tu yolo.
That's very brave. Thank you so much for helping. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I'll just read my English translation here, and we can go through the Tibetan if you guys think that's okay. So if you say that it isn't the case that being an actual object means being able to perform a function, then the lines put forth, which say, and these are two lines by Master Dharmakirti from the Pramanavartika. The reason that the number of objects that can be considered is fixed at the two of actual objects and mental images is because they're either able to perform a function or they're unable to do so. Let's see. So the Denche Nupala Rangsin Yimpe Makyabna, right? If you say that it isn't the case of being an actual thing means being able to perform a function. Then the lines put forth here, Che Kupa. And I did have a question for you guys, for your other nuts. The drome, I changed it. At first I had that the lines that they would be unrelatable or unrelated. But I changed it to just would not make sense for the drome. And it was just I guess my question was more so how much artistic license we can take with things like that. Because
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's what you get for changing the words from the literal meaning.
Never do that. Oh no.
The internet
Cast
gods
out.
strike you down.
The Lord Solace of the past.
When we made the Tengyur,
I think that
everybody.
Drome.
Sorry. Oh, I was just going to
Go ahead.
give context. He translated something not exactly literally. What were you going to say, Word?
Yeah, Adam. I mean, Gashla gives a lot of wiggle room with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I
think so.
I don't know
Yeah.
if he can do it here though. I think that Drome may mean, I might be wrong though, because Adam's book is very difficult for me, but that it's supposed to be it wouldn't be connected directly with the two objects with that those perceptions are supposed to be talking about. in the beginning of Master Jamakirti's book. Right?
Yeah.
let's see.
I thought it meant disconnected here as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to look in the upcoming lines, but I have that feeling.
Adam's working on it. I just got a text from him. He'll be with us any moment. What are we roughly talking about again? We're talking about whether or not working things, dunje ne pas, right? Which is the definition of a working thing, which is can do stuff, right? That which is ne pas able to do something, right? That which is able to do something is the definition of working thing. And then what is it? Can that necessarily be or does that have to necessarily be a Rangsen? Do you remember what it just was?
This was a few weeks ago.
No, it was 3 minutes ago. I just mean in this
In that section.
Yeah, did he talk
in
about
that section.
Rangsens and Cheatsens, right? Did we?
Oh, it should be the
It
same as
was.
Rangsen, right?
Yeah.
So Rangsen is a real object in the world, according to Sautrantica,
Yeah,
right?
which
So
is
they
synonymous. Should be
should be
synonymous
the
with
same. There's this
Yeah.
famous thing, functionalist, right? What Dunmawa? No, functionalist,
Yeah.
right?
Ngopamawas.
Oh,
Ngopamawa.
Ngamawa. Thank you. Yeah, Ngopamawa, right? And this is why they are functionalists, because they believe that real things, Rangsen, which is short for,
Rangit
and this
and
surprised me.
Ichiriki.
Yeah, right. Yeah, stuff which is really out there.
Through its own nature.
So Adam, welcome back. Right.
Or through its
So
own
I guess the
definition.
other guy is trying to say that a thing that exists that is established by its own nature doesn't have to be a thing that functions.
I thought the
which is as
Drame
far
was
as I
saying
got
that
through
it's
the sentence.
Let's
Yeah.
all please remember that we're being translated live in many different languages. And if we could speak more slowly, I know it's very exciting to talk about logic, but if we could speak more slowly, then others will enjoy it too.
Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder, Paula.
Welcome back, Adam.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I had my computer plugged in to the charger, but the charger wasn't plugged into the wall. So sorry about that.
It was Drame, would you say?
What's that? Oh yeah, Drome. Yeah, totally.
Thank you for illustrating that for us. Very
It was
literally, especially when you're branching out for a non-literal
Martree.
translation.
Yeah, it's a Martree. Yeah, let me you guys can would you guys just give me a second here, because when the computer dies like that, I'm having a hard time finding the last document that I had open. So I just have to pull it open. For some reason, it's not showing up in my recently used documents.
So it's
just
probably
wanna make
open.
sure
That's happening.
Yeah.
We'll wax poetic on what it means.
Yeah.
You can correct
I
us
felt
all.
okay about the first half of that sentence, at least, and I'd love to dig more slowly for the second half. So
I have
the
a
first
question.
half, at least.
Mm.
Nick, please.
Was it maybe saying disconnected from a definition that he gave a few lines above? Like, was he saying that then you're kind of this idea of a working thing is disconnected from what we define as a working thing, or this idea of a Rangsen is disconnected from what we've defined as a working thing?
Got it here.
So Adam, I won't confuse you. You guys got to find that document.
Yeah.
We were discussing whether or not that disconnected was referring to something, because first of all, Word said, and we all agree, that Geshe Michael absolutely takes liberties like that all the time and
Mhm.
never puts a stop to us taking liberties like that. But now
Yeah.
that said, did they use Drome intentionally to refer to something not being connected to something else? Maybe something that came above, or something that was defined earlier in the text or explained earlier or even at the beginning of the text.
Well, I think right here it's kind of highlighting that you're either a functioning thing, or you're not, right? That it's just a dichotomy, a strict dichotomy. And if it's the case that Ka-chik has said something that refutes these two lines, then they just then are you saying that Master Dharmakirti doesn't know what he's talking about? Are you saying that there's more than two options? Right?
If we could look at
That's the
him,
way that I interpret it. Yeah, you want to go back up for a second?
no, not at all. No,
Yeah.
I even just this sentence here, to just take smaller pieces. The beginning is fairly easy.
Yeah.
Dunje Nupa, right? That which does stuff. And Rangsen, real thing in the world, so to speak. If not, you say that one isn't necessarily the other, then Shelja, right? What
Yeah.
meaning? What any existing thing?
Yeah.
Right.
It's yeah, totally. It could be any existing thing.
Right. Is this Geshe-la's note? Rangsen and Chitzen, is this
Rangten
your
and
note?
Chitzen.
This is
Yeah, well,
helpful.
that's referring to just this Rangchi here and how it's we've seen Kedrip J abbreviate Rangten Dang Chitzen just simply
Great.
to Rangchi.
So, and then Nge, right? Rang Chi Ni, real things in the world are ideas in our head. Those two. Ngepa, meaning there's definitely two, is how you're taking
Yeah,
that?
there's only two. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then what the doc here is a reason, right? So how does that relate as a reason, or the reasoning that there are only two? Is that why there's a doc there?
Let's see.
Well, you said that the reason that the number of objects can be fixed.
Right, would be, I'm guessing, unrelated, drill me, right, to these other two, to being Dunje Ne, doing something, and Mina, or not able to do something. So that that these two things are divided by being either oh my god, so silly. By
Those don't
being
mean that does not mean that you're right, but this is a good attempt.
by being either Dunje Ne or Dunje Mina, either they are able or not able to perform a function.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Adam, did we
I
lose you?
No, I
Could,
think
could we see your screen?
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
think-
Gracie was Gracie was outside,
Oh.
and I usually leave the door like cracked just a little bit so she can just push on it and come back in. She was outside chasing squirrels. Yeah.
Wait,
Understandable.
wait, doesn't it say
I'm barely containing myself.
you cannot necessarily say that wrong sends perform a function because they can or cannot perform a function? Isn't that all it says?
Well, it's Ran Chi, you see, so it's those two. It's not just Ran Sens. And in fact, we're attacking this person for saying they're not equivalent. So if I understand, then if you say that able to do stuff and real thing in the world are not equivalent, then um, there'd be no connection between the fact that there's only two kinds of things in the world in
Yeah,
terms of
that,
Rangchen and
that's what I'm.
and the fact that
Yeah,
stuff can do
Things are
stuff
either
or can't do stuff.
able, yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
that's the way that I interpreted it.
Yeah.
Maybe not
So there-
exactly the same way that I got to my conclusion, but that's essentially the way that I was interpreting it, right? That the being able to do something means being a Rangzhen. And not being able to do something means not being a Rangzhen. Being a right? And if you're disputing the two lines that Master Dharmakirti gave, which we would take as authoritative, then you would be saying that it just doesn't make sense, that they're unrelated. I don't know if that kind of sums it up, but I think we're kind of saying the same thing, right?
I think you
Yeah.
are. Yeah. And I think that in this case, because you asked the mixed nuts if we think it makes sense to step out and translate drame as would not make sense. I think that you did understand the meaning the same way that Ben was just understanding it.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, this might be an opportunity where you could use drame more with its literal translation because he seems to be using it more literally. Like, I guess whether this is that or this is that is not connected to, these two other ideas. He'd probably
It's
want to
great,
play.
Adam. I mean,
Yeah.
that's between you and the boss. I
Right.
I appreciate you letting us go more slowly because
Yeah.
that's what it takes for me to be able to join you in your conclusion.
Yeah, this has been really helpful, actually, trying to prepare to lead classes by myself, because I really slow down and try to catch the philosophy. And if it doesn't make sense, I've been sitting with it or going for a walk or something like that, and instead of just kind of plowing through so that I can have something to show. Yeah, it's been really, really nice. I feel like I've made a couple of breakthroughs regarding some of this stuff in doing so. So let's go to 413.
Great.
Word, would you mind being our Tibetan? Yeah.
Picker.
I'll be a picker.
Pick on somebody for us.
Sure. I love picking on people. Svit.
Thank you, Dr. Ward.
Thanks.
Don dampar, don che nupa, yin rangtsen, yin pek yap na, myong po sok rangtsen ma yin par dupa gelte.
All right. Thank you. You guys are very brave to do this. I really appreciate you helping us. Yeah. So, yeah, if you say that it's the case that if something is ultimately able to perform a function, I got to remember to slow down. Sorry if you catch me, guys. I'm just remind me to slow down if you would, translators, if I'm going too quickly. Yeah, so if you say that it's the case that if something is ultimately able to perform a function, that it must be an actual object, then you would contradict where you accepted that things like the color blue are not actual objects. And this makes sense, right? This is pretty straightforward.
Is this our position or is this the other guy?
Or what we believe. So Jetson Kappa, what I found in preparing for this class is that Jetson Kappa uses the example of the color blue for the classical example of something that is ultimately able to perform a function. So our position, Jetson Kappa's position, is that the color blue is the classical example of something which is ultimately able to perform a function. So Ka-Chik has said that Ka-Chik has said that the color blue is not an actual object at some point above, right? And so we're saying
okay.
Right? Do we need to stay with this? you want to go through the Tibetan?
Maybe. It's probably always healthy, and then I'll feel most confident if we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is
would
fun,
you
by the way. Thank you guys. This is really cool.
So Gundambar, right? Ultimately, like you said, Adam, ultimately Dunjin Nupa does stuff. If something ultimately does stuff, then it must necessarily be a ransen, a real thing in the world. If you say that if something ultimately does something, then it must be a real thing in the world, then you would be saying that blue, nupo, and the like, ransens like that. Is that it?
Yeah. Things I used things like the color blue, right? So things like for so
that it's not a rant. This is I'm honestly confused. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right, then disagreeing, then saying
right.
that the color blue is not a rangsen would be naughty, because everybody knows that blue ultimately performs a function, even though we don't accept that in the higher school. But in this school, blue ultimately, whatever blue ultimately does, by the way, I don't know what function blue
this is
does.
This is where it gets interesting, and this is why I was saying that prepping for this class really forced me to dig deeper into the exact questions that you're asking right now. And I found some pretty interesting things.
Look, you wrote right there. That's great. It's in your note.
Well,
that's wonderful.
So this is a good point. This is a good example for me to point out that as we continue, what I've done here is I've wrote notes to kind of help us glue some of this stuff together.
Cool.
So these are my notes, and these aren't necessarily Geshe Michael's notes. So take them with a grain of salt. As far as I could, I made sure that they were factual before I put them down. Being that we hit 413, now let's move to 414. And Word, would you pick someone else for us? That was really, really good. Thank you guys for reading so far.
I will pick Yinghui.
Thank you.
Yeah.
New Bo Chun Chen, Kyo Rang Chen Yin Patao, Kyo Dun Dam Para Dun Chet, New Pa Yin Pecher, Kap Sao Ngo.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ngopo Chen. Let's consider the color blue. Kia Ransen Yimba Tao. Kia Ransen Yimba Tao.
Yeah.
It is so an actual object, right? Because it's ultimately able to function. That Kia here is just the it. The Dundimpar Nuchepa is ultimately able to perform a function.
That's great.
So,
that's it.
What we're trying to prove here is obvious is the cab cell ng. The usually we use as actual, but I spent some time just trying to find a phrase that would work here, and that's kind of what I came up with.
So for $0, right? Someone should tell us where we just had an argument about this topic in another text. There was a big fight about whether or not blue, an outer object, triggers.
I'm going to take a stab, and I'm going to say Sugang.
Yeah. Does anybody remember this from our team class with Sugang?
Last week.
Yeah. What triggers consciousness according to the wheel?
Blue.
No.
I
remember
Perception.
Karma, Duce.
Yeah,
the creation of fresh karma.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Word. Yeah, Pei-Ling. Right. Fresh karma, nice. $0. Send it to you can just send your address. You can write it down on a piece of paper anywhere, and I'll send $0 to that address. You don't even have to show me.
Okay, thank you very much.
Really nice. Yeah, great. And
Never mind, Venerable Jigme.
What school is that, by the way?
Lower Madhyamika.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only reason I know
this
is because I don't actually remember that. I didn't actually remember that this was from Xuanzang's class. But when I was prepping for this class, I saw that this was a major point of, this is a major point in defining the viewpoints of the lower middle way and Sautrantika. So
beautiful.
It's kind of cool, yeah, to see. Like I said, sometimes it seems like we're covering so many topics that there's a lot of loose ends. And then some of these loose ends are getting tied up for me. Like I'm starting to see some of the relations, and it's been really cool. The past couple of months, I feel like my understanding of some of this stuff, although very, is getting better. I'm starting to understand it a little better.
So I'm sure people are preparing for their life tools, but I would warn you that there might be something related to the fact that the lower school thinks that blue is what triggers your mind, and the higher school thinks that it's the way you treat other people. But I'm sure we can talk about that in a half hour.
Yeah. Well, this is going to get really interesting here in a second. Our text is. So the note here that I have was kind of just highlighting from above, because I had the question. I was like, how can we say that the color blue is functioning on an ultimate level? And what the second school believes is that things function by triggering the consciousnesses, right? And this is where this Mikkin comes in.
Great. That's very helpful, Adam.
We're going to look at 415. Can we have another one of your astute students help us?
Students.
Students.
Yes, it's a portmanteau.
Students. Okay. I pick Tracy McKenzie.
All right, Tracy.
Madrubna Dertal Dondem Pio J Ki Se Me Dun Jepar Sa Cha Chair.
Yeah. Way to go. Thank you, Tracy.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Madrupna, if you disagree, and I thought I had notes here tying it all together. So if you if you disagree that the color blue is ultimately able to perform a function, it does perform, it is too ultimately able to perform a function. This is the Dertal, because it performs the function of being an object considered by an accurate perception of ultimate analysis.
Is that a phrase that we've had before?
Which one? The Dundam Che Kitsema?
Yeah. An object considered by ultimate analysis or something?
No, it isn't necessarily. No, I don't think it's something that we've had in our text so far. Okay. But it is a pretty it's a pretty major point in the second school. And so I bet we're going to expand on it later, and I bet it's going to keep coming up. So ultimate analysis. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Open to non-mixed nuts, just to make sure that you guys are paying attention. What does the ultimate school hold as being ultimate reality?
Everything comes from seeds.
There's nothing.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
There is no self-existing, anything self-existing.
Second school. We're looking for the second school's view.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Second school.
Oh.
What's the second school hold? So one of the and Ben I know is a master at this, because when we look at Drupta, right? Drupta looks at how the different schools view the two truths, right? So
Yeah.
how does the first school see ultimate and deceptive reality? How does the second school view ultimate and deceptive reality? How does mind only, and then how does middle way, right? And these are one of the ways that we can divide all of the schools. So if we look from that perspective, we put those glasses on. Let's put our two truths glasses on, and let's look at the second school. What does the second school hold as being ultimate reality? This is, I mean, this is quite possibly like yeah, sorry, go ahead, man.
No, it's great. It's a great question. I wonder if anyone in the chat can do it. I'll be really excited. I think you accidentally misspoke, Adam, and I want to give credit to poor Tracy, because you said, what does the ultimate school say is ultimate truth?
Is that what I said?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm halfway through my coffee. I'll perk up here in a second.
Now that you've clarified,
asking
the question is perfect. Yeah, yeah.
You're asking a very sophisticated. It was a nice preamble, though. You set up Tracy to set the table for the harder question that you're asking, which is, what does the second school say? And I'm still waiting for someone in the chat. I'm stalling for you guys.
It's much more straightforward than you would think it would be, and I'm going to give you a huge hint.
Nothing is come from their own side.
That's higher school.
Typically the second school.
What about that? What about that?
There you go. There you go.
Be it.
Okay. So if something is ultimately able to perform a function, they consider that ultimate reality. Right?
Yeah.
So we're talking objects like coffee cups. Coffee cups are an example of ultimate reality for the second school. Right?
As opposed to
this gets down to a very defining characteristic of, if you look at the ascending order of the schools from the first school to the second school to then mind only, right? We're hitting on external and internal objects, right? So we're saying that external objects are necessarily ultimate reality for the second school. And not just external objects, but also consciousness, Shepa, and Dimenduce, right? So the three categories of functioning things are, to them, ultimate reality. Yeah. So, anyways, I just thought we needed to kind of focus on that.
That's very helpful.
I made
because
a second try.
Ultimately, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I made a second try. The actual object is come from mental image.
I mean, look, this is the second school is a very, very deep study. Okay. And when the second school is a very deep study. So when you bring up that objects are related to mental images, this gets into something that we're going to discuss, I think, a lot later in our text, which is how terms, how we name things, how we label things, how we know that a coffee cup is a coffee cup, because in the second school, all we're having is sense data, right? All we have is indicators of a coffee cup. Those come into our mind and trigger a perception. And then that perception then interrelates with a naming process. So I'm just saying that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, on some level, yes, you are right. And I would agree with you. However, Nick, you look confused, and I'm more than happy to explain what's going on in my head.
I'm not confused. You're being actually super clear, and I think you're doing a really
Okay.
great job.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I know
I just
this
want to make sure.
point that
I
you're
want to
trying
make
to
sure that
convey.
I want to make sure that I'm not speaking too broadly. The more that I'm studying the second school, the more that I'm realizing just how deep it is. Okay. So
I
that
have a
process is
question,
actually
Adam.
something that we will spend a lot of time on, Pei. We're going to spend a lot of time on it, not this class, but that's a huge area that we're going to focus on.
I'll just
However,
chime in.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, however, what we're focusing on here is simply how our eye perceives the the sense data, right? That's kind of our topic of focus right now.
And
in this,
just to be clear,
Right.
Pei, just to answer what you were saying, Adam already gave you the answer. So you were taking a shot at it, Pei, but he already told you, and he highlighted it. He highlighted
oh yeah,
it.
I wasn't clear. Yeah, I wasn't clear.
This
highlighted it.
is the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I highlighted it, but I didn't specify what it was that I was getting at. So when I asked how the second school, what the second school's view of ultimate reality is, I highlighted this, but I did not point out that this is specifically what I was looking for. So in the second school, something is ultimate reality, as something belongs to ultimate reality if it's ultimately able to perform a function. Okay.
The second school is the logic school, the sutrists.
Yeah.
They are the ones who focus on the Pramanavartika, you could say, the particular text. This is one of the classic four schools of Buddhism from India, and it's not as subtle as the middle way, who we usually are talking about when we talk about seeds and the pen. We're also kind of doing a hybrid, but this is very specific to this philosophical school.
Yeah, which is why I felt like we kind of needed to slow down, because the topic of this debate has now shifted to whether or not blue belongs to ultimate reality. And I just wanted to point out why it is that we're focusing on that right now. So KDRIP J is choosing. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No, two things. One great question in the chat from Anna isn't ultimate reality an absence in the second school? And it's not wildly,
it's not.
right?
Yeah.
Which is surprising. But it's not here. And so that it's a very good question. And it's sort of like, isn't this the way normal people sort of think? Like, how do I know if something is real? Well, it does stuff.
If I can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch it, then it's real.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, what I wanted to ask you, Adam, for my own gratification or frustration, is there such a thing as something which performs a function in a way that is not
ultimately
in this school? Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into that a little bit here in just a second. I think what we're starting to touch on is, once again, that interface between mental images, between Rangzhen and Jitsen. Okay. And how, when you really start to look at this stuff, they're very closely related. Like,
if you asked me before today to give a definition of ultimate reality in this school, I might have said able to perform a function, but I don't know if I would have been smart enough to say ultimately able to perform a function. And I wonder what those words are doing to help in this school.
How about this? Can I make a note and then we can talk about it more? Maybe next class.
I would love it. I would love to know more about it.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question, Adam?
Yeah.
Zencham cheche ki tseme. Do you think that ki is of, or do you think it might be something else in this case?
Which one?
The dundam cheche ki tseme.
Uh,
I mean, is it a perception of analysis, or is it a perception using ultimate analysis or something? And maybe we don't know yet.
Well, the thing is when you're talking about ultimate analysis, right? We're not necessarily, from the viewpoint of the second school, analysis doesn't mean what we typically take it to be. Analysis would hint that we're using some sort of mental function, some sort of reasoning to understand the object. When we use analysis here in the second school, we are simply saying we're seeing indicators, colors and shapes. That our sense perception is unmistaken, right? Because we're in the school that deals specifically with accurate perception. How do we know that when I'm seeing the computer in front of me, I am having an accurate perception of colors and shapes? From the viewpoint of the second school, I'm not necessarily. The analysis here is simply viewing the object.
Okay. Moving on. I mean, I think
although I suspect that this relates to a term that we use sometimes in the higher school when we talk about ultimate analysis, when you go and try to find the husband in the kitchen that's yelling at me for no reason at all. In this school, you find him as the guy who's triggering your ear awareness, right? Yeah. But in the higher school, where do you find the guy who's yelling at me for no reason at all?
Oh, he's not there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I think they might use this similar term, right? Ultimate analysis.
It could be a way of introducing terms and then expounding on them as your studies. Yeah. Because it is ultimate analysis is a very common thing. Ultimately able to perform a function is a very common thing. We do here, let's keep going to see if we can find anything else out. 416. Let's try to make it through. I want to get into some of this other stuff. I translated so much.
We're never gonna make it there.
I was
but it's okay. Better to understand. It's okay. And better that you over prepared is always wise. And it's better that we go slow for everybody. It's possible that there's someone out there as slow as me. And so if it takes this long for my poor brain to go through it, then it's good. I think you're going at a wonderful pace, Adam.
Cool. All right. I want people to get their money's worth out of the class.
Absolutely. I think understanding is worth.
Okay. So do we have another victim?
Sure. I'll pick Carita.
Tertel Nyonsum Tseme Tertel Vechil.
All right. So the dertal is just calling back the reason given from above, or excuse me, the reason given above and restating it. So it does so perform a function. It performs the function of being an object considered by an accurate perception of ultimate analysis, because it's an object considered by a direct perception.
Oh, wow. Is this, we're saying this, right?
Yeah.
Whoa,
I mean, the dertals are usually, I don't think I've ever encountered a dertal that wasn't where we were
Wasn't
claiming
our position.
Yeah, that wasn't wrong, Luke. Yeah.
So are we saying in this school that deceptive truth, ideas, cheats, concepts, things that cannot perform a function like empty space, cannot be perceived with an accurate direct perception?
Well, direct perception, no. That is what we're saying. And we stated
It's a big deal.
Yeah, totally. Because remember, we had the two lines that Master Dharmakirti gave above, right? That things that can be perceived are fixed at 2, because types of perception is also fixed at 2. And those things are very correlate. They go along with one another. It's so the interesting part to me, what I thought was very interesting is that, and you'll see this as the next argument comes up. You can see here with this header, right? He's leading us into another argument. Okay. And where we're going to end here is now we're talking about Shelja, right? Remember the Shelja came up in one of the sections above, right? So the object being considered is okay. So now we're getting into the holder, we're getting into subject object stuff, right? And there are 4 types of objects. We went through it earlier and I can't recall exactly what they were. There were 4 types of objects, and they all had to deal with how you perceive them. So it's like the object held, the object you believe to be there, how the object actually exists, and I can't remember the 4th. So sorry for that. Sorry for that. But really, you're talking about a mental. You're talking about something. You're talking about the mind analyzing a physical object. Yeah. And I always think this is a really, really cool. I mean, when we meditate, right, and we withdraw our senses, and we try to hold our mind on a single object, right? The mind is holding an object. So, and we're trying to focus on something physical. Like, let's take the husband in the kitchen, right? I always think this is really, really cool because now we're getting into the meat of the interface between the physical and the mental, right? Like we're starting to kind of step by step, we're peeling layers back. You know, we're kind of peeling away and we're trying to get deeper at understanding the process of, and I think what anyways, I'm going to shut up because I could sit here I could talk about it for a while. Yeah. But
it's good. And this topic lends itself to that. This is a big statement. And I know we've hinted at this before, but I think it's very important because this school has a path of seeing. So on the path of seeing in this school, in a deep, deep state of meditation, are you having a direct perception of something or other in the path of seeing on this school? Because it could not be of emptiness or even of dot may, right? That things are not themselves. It couldn't be a direct perception of that in this school if this school says you can't have a direct perception of a lack.
This is another huge topic that I encountered that we're probably going to spend a lot of time on as we go through the text. We're not even through the first book. Sorry, there are 4 more books, right? And we're going to encounter a lot of things. And one of the central issues is the second school's view of the selflessness of persons versus the selflessness of things. And this is a huge distinction. And also, yeah, anyways, I heard somebody that had something.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just not seeing how, Ben, you made the leap.
Yeah.
What this means is that you cannot see a non-existent thing. This is just talking about an object under observation.
Right. I'm not
Or
saying
being
a
perceived.
non-existent thing. I'm saying a
I'm sorry.
lack. If it's true that he's saying, and Adam, could you just scroll so we can also see 415? Yeah. So that which is seen as able to perform a function under ultimate analysis, right? Is an ultimate thing. A thing is ultimate if you can see under with a perfect accurate perception that it is able to do stuff for real. And we know that something is able to do stuff for real if we can consider it with a direct, accurate perception.
I don't see this as a Mayengak. As something that is implying in something else, but it's not said. Which
so
is, of course, what implying means. But
yeah, if in 416, Münzen Sema der Shell, right? A thing can be considered by an accurate perception if that proves 415, which is that it is a thing that's ultimately able to perform a function. If anything which is ultimately able to perform a function must be perceived by a direct perception. You see, the fact that something is perceived with a direct perception proves that it must be functioning. Then that means that if you can see it with a direct perception, it can't be non-functioning. It can't be unfunctioning. It can't be unchanging.
But have we said that? Has he said that?
I think this is what this says.
Can I point something out in 417 here?
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Now, it's very interesting. You guys are touching on this because Duma Cheki Namka is a very interesting object when considered from the perspective of the different schools. Uncomposed space, right? From the perspective of the second school, is it something that we can have a direct, accurate perception of?
You're saying Kitchupche is going to talk about it.
Well, yeah, it's going to come up. It doesn't directly relate to what it is that we're talking about right here because it has Dumacheki Namka has not come up in this argument. But the fact that I think from what I was hearing what Paula and Ben talk about was lats, absences, right? Non-existent, right? Things that are unchanging. So how does the second school, if the second school is so highly focused on changing things, right? Then what are their viewpoints on unchanging things? You know, Dumacheki Namka is one of those specifically. And if you can only have a direct, accurate perception of changing things, then that would necessarily mean that you cannot have a direct, accurate perception of uncomposed space.
Yeah.
Because it's not functioning. It belongs to the category of being unchanging. And the reason that I kind of bring that up is because that's a very clear delineator between what we saw in our first section, where Master Dharmakirti says there are two types of perceptions because there are two types of objects. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think
it's funny to me that you're telling me I can't have a direct, accurate perception of space around me.
It is. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. And we can see that by doing the tsulsum, right? The 3 tests on 416, right? Right. Is it true that that which really does stuff can be seen by a direct, accurate perception? Yes. Is it true that everything that can be seen with an accurate, direct perception must necessarily be able to perform a function? He seems to think so. If he accepts that. And then is it true that if something is not able to perform a function, then it must not be seen with a direct accurate perception? Totally. Right. Then you would have to say that is what he accepts. Yeah, pretty wild. It's interesting. It's an interesting worldview.
Since my computer died, can I request 5 additional minutes? My computer died earlier. I feel like
you have to ask Word.
Word, is that okay? Can I dig into your time a little bit?
No. You have to ask the Q&A people.
It's go ahead, Adam. It's okay. Take a few extra minutes.
All right. And then well, I just want to hit this. I want to hit just to give you guys a taste of the next argument. I think it would be really fun to hit 418. It'll give us something to think about. And 417. So KJ essentially says we're going to talk about this more later. If it doesn't make sense, cook it, and we'll come back to it. That's essentially what he's saying. Here as he leaves 417. So this should be final. He's made his point, and he's just saying, look, if it doesn't make sense, we're going to talk about it a little later, right? So 418, can we have somebody read this next section? Word. Coffee's kicking in. I got to remember to slow down.
Yeah, you're speeding up. I was going to tell you.
I will pick Yulia.
Hello.
Hi, Yulia.
Hello. Shepa kechik cham metang du tren choki cha shemepa rangtsen tu do patang rumpa rangtsen ma yinpa dopa ang gelte shepa ke chikchame yinpa tu mayo tam me mena jikten gikhamna shepa ke chikcha mechik lemepar tal tello.
Thank you. Well done. That was a long one, so thank you. So before we look at this any further, can somebody give for me the 3 categories of mitakba, the 3 categories of changing things? Anyone?
They'll do it in the chat. It's going to happen.
Yeah. Physical, mental, and which is neither physical, changing, which is neither physical or mental.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think if we're going to talk about the first 2, right? I think partless atoms and indivisible moments of consciousness covers the first 2. Okay, it's going to get interesting when we start throwing in that 3rd category. So, and I think I have the Tibetan here correct, or the English equivalents correct. I was having a little trouble with this last line, particularly the Jikting Kamna, which I would like to have you guys kind of help me to make sure that this is as close to what KJJ is actually saying.
Mm-hmm.
So shepa ke
I
so I'll just go through quickly the first two lines. Shepa ke chiki cha me dan dul trin choki cha she mepa. Ransin de dupadang. Bumpa ransin ma yimparn dupang gelte. It's contradictory. This is the gelte. To believe that actual objects are either composed of individual moments of consciousness or partless atoms, while also believing that things like coffee cups are not actual objects. So what did Kachik say from the previous argument? He said that the color blue was not an actual, right? Yeah, he said it was not wrong sin, right? So you see how KJJ is he's building on the arguments. He's setting out to say like, okay, well, if somebody comes along, if Kachik comes along and says that the color blue is not an actual object, then we go through how to refute that. Then he takes whatever we learned from that last argument and he brings it down to this next one. So if we say that coffee cups are not actual objects, why would that mean that, excuse me, why is it contradictory to believe that actual objects are, if actual objects are partless, are made of atoms, okay? If actual objects are made of atoms, then how could we say that coffee cups are not actual objects? Does that make sense? Was I speaking to?
That was
no,
fast.
It's good. It's good.
I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, it might be fast,
but we have to. It's good, Adam. But we have to circle back. It's hard. This sentence, for my mind, would require the sort of slow unpacking that we did before, and it's wonderful. And I think you've made a point here, right? That if we're going to say that a coffee cup is an actual object, then we have to talk about, does that mean it's made up of that actual objects, like ittle bitty actual atoms or atoms, or tiny little Adam Andrades making up, making your morning coffee. Wouldn't that be delightful? And
I kind of mess up my morning coffee.
And by the way, that your awareness, your perception of the cup, which is going to get worse for next time, is made up of tiny little itty bitty moments of awareness, just like your coffee cup is made up of tiny little grains of sand. But boy, we better save that.
Okay. Well, just quickly then, can I have you other nuts look at this last line and just tell me if this is what you guys would garner from the Tibetan here?
It doesn't exist at all. Mena.
It doesn't. Then it must be the case that
yeah, I think so, Adam.
I was struggling with it. Yeah. That's cool. I mean, it's about as close as I could get. The May here was obviously the one that because I was looking at how to that Mepartel, the Mepartel in relation to the Jik Tin Gikam.
Yeah, I think you got it right too.
Yeah,
it's just in the world. The other thing, maybe he's saying that we can talk about in the world or something like that, or that.
Well, because he's saying that if okay, he's given you two options. He's saying either consciousness exists as many from the second line, either consciousness exists as many individual moments, or it doesn't exist at all. So then he's saying that if you say that it doesn't exist at all, then you're saying that there's not a single thing in the world that could be an indivisible moment of consciousness.
Yeah, it makes sense with the context. That's pretty good.
Well, thank you guys. Yeah, I was a little worried. It took me a second to kind of wake up there. So sorry about all that.
You just led a really fantastic class, leading us through very hard philosophical material that it's hard, and we have a very mixed audience. So thanks for being willing to take the time to go through the
This is fun.
details.
This is really, really fun. I thank all of you guys for being here. Yeah, I can't really think of a better way to spend a Saturday morning. And
Yay.
it's really discussion. Yeah,
Cartoons.
totally. I mean, because yeah, cartoons and cereal. I sit here with this stuff like in my head all day, and it's good to have somebody to talk about it with. So thank you guys.
Thanks. We have only let's take at least 6 minutes, and if longer, then that's maybe a couple minutes over to discuss anybody's thoughts, feelings, confusion, or practical applications. Word, were you about to speak?
Yeah, thank you. Adam, I think he's even being more sarcastic in that last line. And he's saying that second chame, the first chame is being like technical, like indivisible. And I think that second chame is being like, well, then there wouldn't even be one individual moment of consciousness in the whole world. I think he's saying that there wouldn't even be a single one as like a sarcastic statement or something.
Yeah. Just to point out though, I'm going to make sure that I'm not about to misspeak.
Okay.
It's just one chame. The last one was just to make sure here.
Chame chik.
Yeah, chame chik leme. Yeah, it was just that chame chik lame.
So why?
But no, I agree with you. Geshe often says that I get the impression that I don't understand quite just how sarcastic Kejip J and Geltub J are sometimes. And I get the impression that Geshe he tries to hit on that a lot.
Yeah.
Adam, why do we care about this distinction between ideas and coffee cups that do stuff, and whether or not Ben knows the difference between the tip of his own nose or a picture in his head of the tip of his nose?
Are you asking me? Or are we asking the audience?
Yeah, well, in lieu of no one else putting forward something, I would nominate you as a really good choice of someone to pick on.
Well, this is a very deep question. If I talk to a stranger on the street, and let's say, well, okay, I go to sometimes when I'm running a lot. I'm not training right now, but sometimes I go to a hot springs to help with recovery and inflammation. I do a cold plunge and a sauna. The conversations that I have in the sauna with people in there, you would not believe. And sometimes they go on for quite a long time. And I hear some incredibly, profoundly wrong things said. So, but I take it as an opportunity to talk about Dharma, right? In certain instances. And if we get into a conversation where, let's just say, the meaning of life comes up, right? I hold the meaning of life. My current goal in life is to perceive emptiness directly. Okay, that's like, if you give me one central thing to focus on, and I say, okay, I'm going to dedicate all of my attention and focus and all of my energy on a day-to-day basis is going to be dedicated to perceiving emptiness directly. Well, then we got to know how to do that, right? So if I'm saying the purpose of my life is to see emptiness directly, and then now Ben asked the question, well, why does it matter? Like between like, okay, well, I've got an idea in my head of the tip of my nose versus the direct perception of the tip of my nose. What we're doing is we are refining our understanding of emptiness using reasoned methods. So what we're doing is we're talking about things. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys, is emptiness conceptual, or is emptiness something that we, that almost misspoke. I was going to say, or is emptiness something that we perceive directly?
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're going to get there, right? So, from the perspective of the second school, what we're doing is we are building more sophisticated models of our understanding of reality. In a very systematic way, we're going through one argument at a time. Well, what does it mean to perform a function ultimately, right? What is the nature of blue, right? How does my mind perceive things? And this question specifically relating concepts to actual objects. Okay. If I have a computer in front of me and I say the computer has an emptiness, right? And I view the computer, right? I'm looking at the computer in front of me. Am I currently perceiving its emptiness?
Not that.
If you're enlightened, yes.
Not if you are not enlightened.
I'm an ordinary, I'm a socio-cute, right? I'm an ordinary. So how do we build, if we say that, am I perceiving its subtle impermanence?
Not directly.
Not directly, right? And this is very interesting. Something I found out was that the second school says that when you see an object, you are actually perceiving its subtle impermanence.
Right.
Not aware of it.
Wow.
It's,
so they say that the subtle this is why the subtle impermanence of sound. This is why the impermanence of sound is so often used as an object in reasoned analysis, is because the impermanence of sound is the most is the least subtle way of exemplifying subtle impermanence. Now, if we turn that on ourselves, right, and we look at ourselves, what about the subtle impermanence of ourself? What about the subtle impermanence of, right? What about our gross impermanence? So, and then that, to circle back, that comes back to realizing that we're all going to die, and realizing that we have to spend every waking second serving the Dharma, serving our teacher, so that we can get blessings, so that we can then understand emptiness on a deeper and deeper and deeper level, so that then eventually we can get there. But the thing is that we have to start with something that we can hear, like a bell ringing, right? The subtle impermanence of a bell, right? Like, or of the sound of a bell, right? Sorry, let me just kind of tie this up. And then we go deeper and deeper and deeper with it. And what we're finding more and more is that there are these times where, just like an everlasting gobstopper, right? So kind of like you put these these candies in your mouth, and you can sit there and suck on them and suck on them and suck on them for, like, weeks, really, if you wanted to. And these arguments are kind of the same way. And the more and more I sit with each individual argument, I'm finding that it's much deeper than the surface level. Like, there's one level of, like, I get one thing from some of these, but if you take, Adam,
we better move on, just because we have the Peachtree World News queued up too.
Okay, well, yeah, let me just tie this up. So when we look at actual objects, we can use them to refine our understanding of emptiness. And I'm finding more and more, when I go through each one of these individual arguments, that it leads me to a place where I start to question my reality on a like, I'm starting to see this very real place where actual objects meet conceptuality. And that's a fun space to be in when you're walking around. That's a fun place to be in when you're having a conversation with somebody in a sauna. right? It's like when you're like, oh my God, like, you know, and it starts to, so it's becoming, the separation between the mental and the physical is becoming much more pronounced. It's becoming less and less pronounced for me. I don't know, and that's kind of, if you know, Ben said that he was like, you know, nobody else is speaking up. So if you were to ask my opinion about our perception of our nose and our mental image of our nose, that's where it would lead me. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I think it's a really interesting point because we really emphasize like what's the life practical application that you can find for this today, and we almost put pressure. But you know, the truth is probably, I mean, there's many cases where what we're doing is building a philosophical case against our own tendencies, and it's not so much that there is just like, oh, you can use this on your husband now. Like it's really for the purpose of changing ourselves in the more long-term way. And I think that that's a really good thing that you pointed out in really excellent detail, Adam. And I appreciate that you brought us to that, because that's the mixed nuts. While we would like to offer modern day solutions every class, sometimes, and you know, we're digging in these texts because we're trying to change ourselves from people who feel pain to people who are permanently in the sauna, just chilling, rather than having to make your muscles sore.
Yeah.
So thank you, Adam. Thank you for an amazing class. I really appreciate you, the hard work that you put into this, and the excellent clarity with which you're sharing with us. And thank you to all the mixed nuts, all the translators, and especially our Worldview Productions team. We're a little behind, so let's just move right on to the Peachtree World News. Juan, take the normal time you need, and then we have class with Word for those of you sticking around to learn the fundamentals of the language. Thank you so much, everybody. Take it away. I think Juan Hasso, there you are. In your
Yes.
anchor.
Thank you very much. I was in the corner, but not anymore. Thank you for letting me out. So I'm very happy to be here. As many of you may know, tomorrow we have an important event. It's the New Year celebration that I'll be talking about later. But it happens I had to come to Arizona. So I'm in Arizona, very happy to be here. And just when I was listening to this class and having the chance to try to translate it, because it can be very difficult, I was just amazed about, like Adam was sharing, how deep can these ideas go, and how sometimes they either have a very practical application, as Nick was saying, and either can be planting seeds for us to later on have like an amazing realizations or understandings on how our reality and life is working. So I'm very grateful for this project to be here. And speaking of that, we have again today with us to Natasha Loginova, which has been working on a very cool project. This project is the new website of this project, Diamond Cutter Classics, including, of course, Xuanzang Tower. We will have a conversation with her. She's going to tell us a little bit more of the workings of this website, but also a little bit of the history or the story, to how this project came to be. Hello, Natasha, how are you?
Hi, Juan. Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you, and good day, good afternoon, good evening to everyone online and who's going to listen us in the recordings. Yes, I would like to share great news that Mixed Nuts or Diamond Cutter Classics have now a wonderful new site. And I welcome each of you. Please take a few moments to study and use it, because it's so important, these ancient wisdoms that we're here to learn. And one of the greatest things on this website is now we have a dedicated page to each translator. So not, for example, Adam, who had a wonderful, very difficult class today, you can listen over and over again if you go to the site. And also, if you're a big fan of books and collect them either in e-copies or hard copies, I welcome you to also explore this page about books that this wonderful team of mixed nuts, really nuts, not just discussing in the sauna, but also actually publish those books for you to read.
Should we share the screen? Well, by the way, Natasha, let me ask you something. Is today your birthday?
Yes, my birthday is today. Yes, I think it's a great way to celebrate it.
Happy
Mixed nuts.
birthday.
Yes. Very happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
And thank you so much for all the work you've been putting in this project. When I saw the website for first time, I thought it's amazing. I'm still thinking that, but it was very surprising to see. If you agree, we can share the screen a little bit and we can show the
Absolutely.
website to the people. And then you can guide me if you want me to go somewhere specifically that you would like to talk about. But
Yeah,
you were
absolutely.
saying, yeah, you were saying there's like sections for each one of the translators, right?
That's right. The good thing is now, if you're particularly interested in logic, like Anna mentioned, she loves logic, or you like stories of Master Shantideva, you're going to see Sugang page, or you like everything, you can go up in the corner and choose a page for each translator. You go to our
Where?
team.
Oh, here? Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Our team.
And then you pick any translator or a subject
Wow.
that you're really interested in. Vinaya,
Okay.
Master Shantideva, Logic, Master Dharmakirti, whatever you
Oh,
want. Any
wow.
flavor of your, any flavor you can pick. And then what's great about we are actually introducing you each translator. We're telling the story about each
awesome.
person, so you get to know them a little bit better.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're inspired to learn more about the work that this translator does. And as Juan just showed, you have every session, every recording since 2017 that existed is there. And yes, Bats is absolutely a wonderful and absolutely amazing person of this team, because she's not just a translator, she's also an editor. I don't know how she managed to do this, but she edits every book that you've been published, she does that. So it's my hat and huge applause and bow to you, Venerable Utpala. It's amazing. So a great also introductions about the books. So if you're a little bit lost and not sure what kind of subject you would like to get into deeper, we welcome you to the page about books. So whatever speaks to your heart, wherever wisdom you want to touch, you can see here, those are the published books on top. And then also if you scroll down, Juan, you'll see all listed books, and most of them do have descriptions. So all those books are in the process of being translated. So you can learn about what actually translators working on right now. So also very exciting. And of course, you have a link to buy them, to download those books that have been published. And I just wanted to emphasize that this is a huge, amazing work that each of those translators do. They have big team and so much wisdom and knowledge in one place, and it's accessible to all of you anytime, any day, anywhere in the world. We're currently translating this in 6 languages, with the goal by the end of this year to be translated in 15 languages, which it means that it doesn't matter where you are or what is your favorite language to speak. It's there for you for free. please take advantages, because we wanted to help Geshe-la to cover this planet with this unbelievable ancient knowledge. And we also wanted to value the work that each of those translators do, because it's invaluable. It's one of a lifetime opportunity for each of us to touch, just to touch, as Adam said today in the class, for me, just to be on the surface of this and take time to go deeper later.
Thank you very much, Natasha. I still want to have some time to talk with you about your own personal experience. Yes, yes. Now the thing is, like, now we have to go back to work, but we have to have you sometime soon again or sometime too. So you tell us a little bit about how you developed this idea, how you follow through, what advices would you give to people? Oh, sorry. What advices will you give to people who want to develop projects and how to materialize them? Because I remember, as Ben was saying, sometimes there are so many good ideas, but the real challenge is to make
it happen.
them. Yes, and I connecting it with Adam's class, I will say to bring the Chitzen into the Rangsen, meaning the idea you put it in the actual word. But thank you very much, and we want to wish you also a very, very happy birthday as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for all this work.
Yeah. It's the greatest gift for me to actually get in touch with these projects and help everyone make it accessible. So the only thing I can say, this is my motivation and intention, that every one of you will have a chance, maybe 15 minutes a week, to read or listen to this recording. When you're driving in the car, just play anything you want. It's there. You don't have to do extensive search, or if you're in the car, you can listen to the audiobooks. So everything is possible because we have this knowledge. It's all I can say.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it's so well organized and accessible, it's going to be really, really helpful to use for we all, the audience, and everyone. So thank you. Great project.
And it's just that this is just the beginning. I want to say we have a huge vision for this year. We're working with Ben and Nick, and it's only the beginning, because it's going to be every year better and better and better.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Really. Thank you very much. I'm very happy birthday. And we'll see you soon again.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. And just finally, before we go back with Word, I would like to invite you all to this New Year celebration. I'm going to share my screen to you see what I'm talking about. Here. This is what I'm talking about. Today, you won't imagine it's going crazy. The production is like last minute things all the time, organizing the materials, producing the live event, the online event, talking with everybody. Crazy, but it's fun. So I really encourage you, come tomorrow, because you're gonna be able to see many, many, many of the accomplishments that have happened in the year 2023 among a lot of the worldview organizations. So you're gonna get a real sense of what happened, many of the accomplishments and the victories that had happened in 2023 regards the Worldview Network, and also many of the plans that are coming for 2024. So if you want to join us in this celebration, come. Geshe is going to be with us live. We're going to see how is he doing with his hand surgery. I hear it went very well, but we will hear directly from him. And we will have many more guests and friends all over. So you can use the QR code to register. Tomorrow we start at 7 a.m. Arizona time, and we will be hitting the new year in Asia time. So join the celebration, and I'll see you all soon. Adios. Back to work.
Hi.
Hi, Juan.
Hi.